I'm 25 years old and I'm filming this currently on May 6th. And so far in the first 6 days of May, I've made $26,784 in take-home profit, as you can see on my screen right here. And I'm refreshing so that you can see this is not a screenshot. And I'll show you the month of April. In my last video, I showed how I did it in the entire month of April. And it was actually on the last day. I was still in a trade at the time that I recorded it, but I ended up the month of April $165,000 in take-home profit, as you can see right there. This is live on my brokerage account, on my regulated brokerage account called Webull, where I trade. And before we go any further, I want to be extremely clear. This is not me making an income claim. This is not me saying that you are going to make this kind of money. Trading is risky, and most people do lose money because they don't have a real system. They don't manage risk, and they make decisions based on their emotions, right? They let emotion control the decisions that they make. And so this video is not about making crazy promises. This video is about showing you what actually changed for me, because most people think the reason that I've been able to make this kind of money from trading is because I found some secret chart pattern, or because I stare at screens all day, or because I know exactly what the market's going to do next, and I make predictions that are correct 80, 90, 100% of the time. And that is not the truth. The truth is, trading changed my life when I stopped needing every trade to work. I stopped trying to force the market to give me what I wanted. I stopped caring about being right, and I built an emotionless system where the risk is controlled before I even enter a trade. That was the shift for me, because most traders are too attached. They're attached to the money, attached to the outcome, attached to needing the next trade to work, and attached to making back what they lost yesterday or the week before. Ultimately, guys, most people that lose money in the stock market, they lose because they're attached to proving they were correct. And that attachment is exactly what makes them emotional. And emotional traders eventually destroy themselves 100% of the time. And I know that because I did it. I started trading when I was 17 years old. My last year of high school, I was in an economics class, and we had one of those stock market simulation games. I got completely hooked. I started taking it very seriously, and I ended up winning the entire thing. And so, of course, I did what every 17-year-old does when they win something like that, and I said, okay, now I'm going to do this for real. So I took the $5,000 that I had saved up from lifeguarding, and I started trading with my own money. And at first, it felt like I had the golden touch. It felt like I had the Midas touch. By the end of my senior year of high school, my last year of high school, I turned that $5,000 into $70,000. And that's where the real danger started for me, because I didn't think that I got lucky. I thought I was special. I thought I was going to be the next stock market millionaire. And my dad, Seth Antiles, who actually spent decades trading billions of dollars for the biggest banks and hedge funds in the world, he tried to help me. He tried to coach me. He tried to mentor me. And ultimately, he tried to warn me that the way that I was trading, I learned all of these crazy chart patterns and indicators and scanners from all of these YouTube and TikTok gurus that were flashing their rented Lamborghinis and mansions. And my dad tried to warn me that no one on Wall Street was using any of these tools. He said, Andy, no one who's making real money in the stock market is using any of the nonsense that you're using. But unfortunately, everything that my dad told me, all the guidance that he tried to give me, went in one ear and out the other. And I was extremely arrogant. I thought I had proved that I could do it. And so I did what most people do when they're winning. I got louder, I got riskier, I got more emotional. But of course, I had no real structure and no rules. So that was in 2018. I graduated high school in 2018. And in August of 2018, after I graduated high school, I moved to Canada to play junior hockey. And the goal was to get recruited to play college hockey back in the United States. And this is where my life just sort of started to flip on its head. I was playing in Victoria, British Columbia, all the way on the west coast of Canada. And in my last preseason game, I was sucker punched right here. I suffered a horrible concussion. It took me about 2.5 months to recover. And the day that the doctor cleared me to start playing hockey again, I got traded across the country to a small town called Cochrane, Northern Ontario. It was an 8-hour straight drive north from Toronto, and it was negative 30 degrees almost every single day. I was absolutely miserable. And in my 6th game there, I broke my wrist. But the injury initially got misdiagnosed, so I kept playing. I played 5 more games with a broken wrist. So in a season where I was supposed to play 70 games, I ended up playing 11 games total. And at the same time, I was still trading, right? But while my real life was getting more chaotic, my trading was getting more chaotic too. And so that $70,000 that I had built up to in my last year of high school, it started bleeding to $50,000, to $30,000, to $20,000. And I was still pretending that I was in control, right? And then ultimately the doctor told me that I had a broken wrist. I needed to go home and get surgery as soon as possible because at that point, my wrist hadn't gotten any blood flow in 2 weeks. And so the doctor told me that I might have what he called a dead wrist for the rest of my life, that I literally wouldn't have a functional wrist. And so I flew home for surgery, and I'll never forget this. The day before my wrist surgery, I blew the last of my money, my final $15,000 gone. And I was staring at my account with 29 cents left. And that was the moment that it hit me, right? It was no longer, I had a bad week, I'll make it back tomorrow. It was no longer, this is just a rough patch that I'll get through. It was over. And I remember thinking, all right, that was a fun ride, but I guess that's it. I thought maybe I just wasn't cut out for it. I thought maybe you needed decades of Wall Street experience, an Ivy League college degree, in order to make real consistent income from the stock market. And maybe a normal person like me had no business trying to make money in the stock market. So a couple days after I got surgery, I opened up a DoorDash account and I started delivering food on DoorDash, driving around New Jersey where I grew up for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And within a month, I saved around $2,000. Within 2 months, I was able to save around $4,000. And once I had a little bit of money again and my ego was finally gone, I went back to my dad, humbled, and I asked him the question that ultimately changed my life forever. I said, Dad, is there any way that I can win long-term in the stock market, that I can see that I can earn consistent income trading in the stock market without having decades of Wall Street experience or an Ivy League college degree? And what my dad told me was very simple. He said that I needed to stop doing all of these random things that I had learned on YouTube and TikTok, and instead, I needed to follow what the big banks and hedge funds do. I needed to do what the big guys do. So he literally handed me a sheet of paper where he had written quotes from some of the greatest investors of all time, Benjamin Graham, Ray Dalio, Seth Klarman. And as I read these quotes about how these people, these Wall Street legends, made so much money from the markets, what was crazy to me is they were all saying the same thing in different words. None of them were talking about the crazy new chart pattern or indicator or scanner that allowed them to make $1 million in their first day or first week or first month. But what they were all talking about was the importance of prioritizing risk management, of protecting downside at risk first. And that's when the light bulb finally went off for me, that making incredible amounts of income in the stock market has nothing to do with finding the next penny stock. It wasn't about gambling on crypto. It wasn't about chasing every random stock on the internet. And it wasn't about needing to predict the market perfectly every single day. But instead, what my dad told me that I needed to do was to create a system that I could follow every single day on autopilot, almost like a robot, where my risk was controlled before I even entered a trade. A system where I could be wrong and still be okay. A system where I didn't need to win 100% of the time. A system where I didn't need to be emotional because the rules made the decisions for me. And so that's when everything started to change for me. I studied that concept, I tweaked it, I worked closely with my dad, and I was able to model success. I got real mentorship and guidance from my father, who had already done the exact thing that I wanted to become an expert in. And I took what my dad taught me from the institutional world and I adapted it to my own trading. And so slowly but surely, I finally built the system in 2019 that I still use today. And that system is what I call emotionless trading. And the whole idea is simple. Most people lose money in the stock market because they're emotionally attached to the outcome of every trade. They need this trade to work. They need to make money today. They need to recover yesterday's losses. They need to prove they are right. And when you need a trade to work, you are no longer trading, you are hoping. And hope is one of the most expensive emotions in the world, because when you hope, you hold your losers too long, you move your stop loss, you average down into a bad trade, you take trades that aren't part of your plan, and when you hope, you're no longer following a system, you are reacting to fear. And so that was the old version of me. But the new version of me trades differently. I don't enter a trade wondering, what if I'm wrong? Because I already know what happens if I'm wrong. I don't enter a trade asking, how much can I make? The first question I ask is, how much can I lose? Right? I don't need every trade to work. I need the math to work over time. That's the difference between gambling and trading with a system. So let me explain this with a very simple example. Imagine you are playing a game where you flip a coin, and if the coin lands on tails, you lose $1. But if the coin lands on heads, you win $2. Even though the game is only 50-50, over enough flips, you will always come out ahead because the math is tilted in your favor. When you lose $1, but when you win $2. That's the game that I'm trying to play in the market. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not trying to win every single trade. I'm trying to create a framework where my losses are controlled and my winning trades have room to become meaningfully larger than my losses. That's what risk management actually means, and that's why I believe that most traders are focused on the wrong thing. They're searching for better indicators, better alerts, better signals, better entries, better predictions, better gurus, better stock picks. But they're ignoring the thing that actually determines whether they survive. And that, my friends, is risk. Because if you can't control risk, it doesn't matter how good your entries are. One emotional mistake wipes you out. One oversized trade destroys weeks of progress. One moment of panic can ruin an entire month. So the first breakthrough I had was that I don't need to predict the market perfectly. I need to build a structure where I can be wrong and not get destroyed. Okay? This is what allowed me to detach from the outcome. And when I say detach, I don't mean that I don't care. Of course I care. This is real money. This is real income. This is money that I use to invest into my life, my family, my real estate, my future. But I don't care in the way that most traders care. Most traders care emotionally. They care from fear. They care from desperation. They care from needing the market to validate them. I care about execution. I care about following my rules. I care about honoring my stop loss. I care about taking profits where my system tells me to. I care about protecting my account. And I care about staying calm enough to make good decisions. That's why trading has become so powerful for me. Because when you stop needing one trade to change your life, you can finally trade the right way. Now, the reason I'm able to trade this way is because my system is extremely simple. I trade one stock and one stock only, and that is SPY, as you can see on my screen right here, SPY, the S&P 500 ETF. And I trade options on SPY. That's it. I'm not jumping around between 30 different stocks. I'm not waking up and asking myself, what stock should I trade today? I'm not chasing whatever is trending on social media. I'm not trying to be an expert in Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, crypto, penny stocks, and everything in between. I focus on one stock, one chart, one vehicle, and one system. And that matters because mastery comes from repetition. Most traders are scattered. Their attention is everywhere. Their energy is everywhere. Their money is everywhere. They're watching 15 different stocks, listening to random people online, and trying to copy trades from strangers. And then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed. My approach is the opposite. I trade SPY every day because I want to become an expert in one thing. I want to understand how it moves. I want to understand where buyers come in. I want to understand where sellers step in. I want to understand the rhythm, the behavior, the speed, the key levels. And that's why I keep it simple. Okay? And once I know what I'm trading, I follow the same 5-step system every single day. And you can watch my last video to hear me break down this exact 5-step system where I have clearly defined risk in every single trade that I take. I have the exact same worst-case scenario in every single trade that I take. Okay? And I have extremely minimal downside risk, whereas I have massive upside potential. And I even have what I call infinite upside because I truly have no ceiling to the amount of money that I can make in any given trade. Now, I'm 25 years old. I'm married. I live in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm building real wealth. I'm buying rental properties, I'm investing into long-term assets, and I'm using trading income to build a life that gives me freedom. And the craziest part that I want you guys to understand, and the reason why I say all that, is because I don't spend all day doing this. I'm not glued to the screen for 8 hours a day. I'm not taking 50 trades a day. I'm not chasing every move. I trade a focused window of time. I follow my process, and I take the setups that fit my rules. And then I'm done. And then I enjoy the rest of my day. That is the beauty of having a system. When you don't have a system, trading consumes you. Whereas when you do have a system, trading becomes structured. Because I can sit down in front of a chart, trade one thing, follow one process, manage my risk, and potentially generate income from my laptop. Okay? That's why in April I was able to make $165,000 in take-home income. And again, as of filming this on May 6th, let's see exactly how much I've made so far. I'm still in a trade right now. So I've made at this point, I don't even remember what it was when I started this video, but $26,769 in take-home profit. So when I show you these numbers, I'm not just showing you money. I'm showing you what can happen when you stop gambling, stop guessing, stop chasing, and start treating this like a real skill. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching this, because I know what it feels like to lose. I know what it feels like to blow up. I know what it feels like to think that you're done, that there's no way that you can make money in this game. And I know what it feels like to have the market humble you. But I also know what it feels like to rebuild with the right system, and that's exactly what I teach inside of my company called Greystone Trading. We teach people how to trade the stock market with structure, with risk management, rules, discipline, and with an emotionless process. And so if you want to learn directly from me, go ahead and click the link in the description of this video, submit an application to work with us, and then schedule a roadmap call with one of my senior advisors. Okay? Now, I'll say it one final time. I can't promise you'll make money. I cannot promise you'll get my results. But if you're serious about learning this skill the right way, if you're tired of guessing, if you're tired of being emotional, and if you want real mentorship around a structured, risk-managed trading system, go ahead and click the link in the description and schedule a call with one of my advisors. Because the market doesn't reward emotion. It does not reward desperation. It doesn't reward people who need every trade to work. The market rewards discipline. It rewards patience, risk management, and it rewards the people who can stay calm when everyone else is reacting. And so that's what changed everything for me. That's how I went from blowing my account and losing pretty much every dollar that I had to having 29 cents to my name to making 6 figures profit in a single month. And I've been earning a full-time income from trading in the stock market for the past 7 years. And that's why I believe the real secret to trading is not caring less about your future. It's caring more about your process. So if you got value from this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the link in the description to apply to work with me and my team. I hope this helped you, and I will see you in the next video.